In a world where the weight of our burdens can leave us shattered, there lies a story of a humble vessel that breaks and is rebuilt with veins of gold, becoming stronger and more beautiful than before. Journey with the disciples as they hear Jesus' tale of hope, healing, and resilience. A tale that reveals how even our deepest scars can carry light and transform us into vessels of grace. Stay with this story, and discover how brokenness can be the very path to wholeness. The sun was dipping low in the sky, casting warm, golden hues across the countryside as Jesus and his disciples found a spot to rest beneath a sprawling olive tree. They had been journeying for days, weaving through dusty paths of villages and fields, teaching wherever they went. The roads had been long, the sun unrelenting, and the weight of their mission was not only on their bodies but on their spirits as well. Some disciples lay back on the soft grass, others leaned against the rough bark of the olive tree, each taking solace in the quiet hum of the evening. The landscape stretched out before them, bathed in the golden light of the setting sun. It was a moment of peace amidst the demands of their journey, yet beneath this tranquility, each man felt the quiet pull of his own doubts and burdens. John, the youngest of the disciples, finally broke the silence. His voice was soft, almost hesitant, as he asked, "Teacher, how do we find strength when our hearts feel weighed down?" His words seemed to resonate with all of them, unearthing the unspoken doubts that each carried. Jesus turned to John, his gaze filled with deep understanding. He knew the weight that each disciple bore, the internal battles they faced but rarely spoke of. With a gentle smile, he gestured for them to come closer. "Let me tell you a story," he began, his voice calm and warm as if it could melt away their anxieties. "A story about a clay vessel, carefully crafted yet vulnerable to breaking. A vessel that, like each of you, was shaped with purpose and love. In a small village by the river, there was a humble potter named Eliab. His hands were his most valued possession, capable of transforming raw clay into objects of grace and beauty. His workshop, tucked away by the riverbank, was a refuge filled with the scent of damp earth and the sound of his wheel turning. Shelves were lined with all manner of vessels, some simple, some adorned with patterns, but all bore the unmistakable mark of Eliab's craftsmanship. The villagers spoke highly of Eliab, not only for his skill but for his kindness. He lived alone, finding solace in his art, and he had poured himself into a special water jar he'd been crafting for months. It was intended to carry water from the village well, a task simple yet life-giving. The vessel was unique, its surface adorned with intricate designs that reflected Eliab's own life story. As he finished it, his fingers tracing the final details, Eliab whispered to the vessel, "You are strong, you are beautiful, and you are meant for a purpose greater than you know." For Eliab, this vessel was more than a piece of pottery. It was a symbol of hope and resilience, a testament to his journey through loss and loneliness. His family had passed years ago, leaving him only with his craft. Through this vessel, he felt a sense of purpose rekindled, as if it were carrying a part of his own heart to serve the village. On the day he was to deliver the vessel, Eliab felt an unexpected unease. The morning was bright and clear, yet he felt the fragility of his work more keenly than ever. As he cradled the vessel in his hands, he walked carefully down the rocky path to the village well, mindful of every step. The villagers he passed paused to admire his craftsmanship, their expressions filled with admiration, and he felt a swell of pride. But pride was quickly met with misfortune. His foot caught on a loose stone, and before he could react, the vessel slipped from his grasp and crashed onto the ground. The sound of breaking clay cut through the morning air, and Eliab dropped to his knees, his heart shattering alongside the vessel. The beauty he had poured himself into was now in fragments on the dusty ground. His hands trembled as he gathered each piece, feeling as though he were picking up pieces of his own soul. Villagers gathered around, offering words of comfort, but Eliab barely heard them. An elderly woman, with eyes that seemed to hold a lifetime of wisdom, knelt beside him and placed a hand on his shoulder. "There may yet be a way to make it whole again, Eliab," she whispered. Sometimes broken things become more beautiful than before. Her words sank into him, planting the smallest seed of hope amidst his sorrow. Jesus paused, letting the weight of his words settle into the quiet evening air. The disciples sat in silence, each of them feeling the story's impact. They all had known moments of breaking, times when their faith seemed to falter, when the path they followed felt uncertain. Peter, strong and confident yet deeply sensitive, was the first to speak. "If we are like the vessel," he asked softly, "are we meant to break as well?" Jesus' gaze held Peter's with a warmth that seemed to understand his every fear and doubt. "Sometimes," Jesus replied, "we are broken to reveal something deeper within us, to transform us in ways we cannot yet understand." The disciples exchanged glances, each of them silently acknowledging the struggles they carried. They realized that, like the potter's vessel, their path was not about remaining unbroken, but about being shaped by their experiences, even the painful ones. Each of them saw a part of themselves in the story, a reminder that their scars and trials were not marks of weakness but of growth. In the solitude of his workshop, Eliab sat before the broken pieces of the vessel, torn between despair and hope. He could discard it, sweeping the fragments aside, or he could attempt to mend it. He thought of the old woman's words and felt a glimmer of belief stirring within him. Carefully, he gathered the pieces and began the meticulous work of reconstruction. He mixed golden dust into the clay paste, a technique he'd never tried but it felt right. Each piece he rejoined seemed to strengthen his resolve. His hands moved over the cracks with tenderness, his heart finding solace in the process of healing. With each stroke of gold-laden clay, Eliab felt himself mending alongside the vessel. The golden lines began to emerge, transforming the vessel's brokenness into something beautiful and unexpected. It was as if he were weaving his own soul into the vessel, each line a testament to resilience. As the days passed, he became absorbed in this sacred work, finding peace in each stroke, each bond, each fragment returned to its place. Eliab's work continued over many days. The process was slow, requiring patience he hadn't known he possessed. He would wake before dawn and sit by the light of a single candle, carefully fitting each piece. The cracks filled with gold, and what once seemed broken beyond repair began to take on a new form, a beauty that was unique and precious. The golden lines were like rivers of light flowing through the vessel, symbols of strength emerging from fragility. As he worked, Eliab found himself speaking to the vessel, sharing his deepest thoughts, his hopes, his sorrows. It was as if he were not merely mending clay, but healing his own heart. By the time he finished, the vessel looked like something crafted by the divine, a radiant creation of gold and clay, each scar now a mark of beauty. Eliab gazed at it in wonder, realizing that his own journey of mending had been mirrored in the vessel. The loss he had felt was now filled with a profound peace, a sense of purpose renewed. This vessel would carry water, yes, but it would also carry a story of resilience, of brokenness transformed. The disciples listened, enraptured as Jesus finished the tale. Each man felt the story's truth resonate within him. Andrew, who had always struggled with feelings of inadequacy, whispered, "Are we too meant to be vessels of grace, bearing the marks of our journey?" Jesus looked at Andrew, his eyes filled with compassion. "Yes, Andrew. You are each being shaped, and each scar, each wound, is a place where light can enter. In brokenness you find strength. In each crack, grace fills and beauty is reborn." These words filled the disciples with a renewed sense of purpose. They realized that their weaknesses, their trials, were not obstacles but paths to deeper faith. They would walk forward, not seeking perfection but understanding that each struggle was part of their transformation. Eliab stood before the village, holding the finished vessel. Its golden lines caught the sunlight, reflecting a beauty beyond anything he had imagined. The villagers gasped in awe, their admiration growing as he explained the vessel's journey from brokenness to wholeness. It became a symbol of hope for the village, a reminder that beauty could arise from loss, that even shattered dreams could be mended. Eliab felt a sense of peace as he carried the vessel, knowing that his own heart had been restored alongside it. For the first time in years he felt whole. Inspired by Jesus' story, the disciples continued their journey with a deeper understanding of their purpose. They no longer feared their struggles, realizing that they were being shaped by the same loving hands that had crafted the potter's vessel. Each disciple carried the lesson within his heart, walking with a quiet confidence. They felt bonded not only by their shared mission but by the recognition that their own journeys of breaking and mending were part of their growth. Together they were vessels of grace, each scar a testament to faith. As the years passed, the story of Eliab's vessel became a beacon of hope, shared by travelers and villagers alike. It became known as the vessel of grace, a reminder that brokenness could be transformed into beauty, that every scar could carry light. The disciples too shared Jesus' story, finding strength in their own scars. They became vessels of love and resilience, carrying light into a world that yearned for hope. Through their journeys, they realized that their own mending had allowed them to pour forth grace, a legacy of love that would endure. This is end of the story. Comment Amen if you believe in Jesus' blessings. Please like this video and subscribe this channel for more Jesus story like this. May the God watch over you.